Hi everyone, this is Sonia back today with a colour along. Today I'll be working in the Look colouring book by, I think that's Siwa. And this is the picture I have selected to do today. And I've had a few people request that I colour in some shading with pencil over soft pastels. So I've decided to do it on this picture here to demonstrate. I'm not that great with skin tones and things, but I can show you how I would colour in and shade some of the clothing and like the little beads or berries in her hair and things like that. So what I've just done here already is I've used my soft pastels and I've put in basic colours of what I want. And then I've sprayed my fixative over the top, so this is not coming off. Actually, it did very slightly, but it's not rubbing off onto everything. So yes, like I said, I had a few requests to add some pencil onto this. So this here, what I've done so far, probably took me only about 3 to 4 minutes. And if you'd like to see how I apply the soft pastels, I have another video on that. If you look at my channel, there's a video called Using Soft Pastels More in Your Colouring Books. And it's a very easy technique that I use, and it's very fast and simple. And for those of you who don't particularly like coloured pencil, this here I find is quite lovely as it is. I could add a bit more soft pastel to this in a few darker shades for shading, and I wouldn't have to use coloured pencil at all. I think it's really soft and lovely, and you could quite easily just do soft pastel if you wanted to. But for this tutorial, I'll just show you how I go about adding some bit of shading with coloured pencil. So first of all, what I'll do is I will start on her blouse and bow. So this is sort of like a peachy, burgundy, sort of rose colour blouse. So the kind of closest colour I have to it is probably my henna, my Prismacolor henna colour. And I may also add a bit of middle purple pink in my polychromos. Now unfortunately I didn't grab my pencil sharpener, which is in the other room, so I'm just going to have to make do with what I've got, and hopefully my pencils don't get too blunt. But the first thing I would probably do is use the closest colour I have, and I would probably go around and just get any sort of blend in any parts that it didn't quite get with the pastel. And as you can see, this is quite close to the colour. It is a little bit darker. So, and because it's a little bit darker, I'm going to do some of my shading here in the folds of the blouse of the fabric. I would just come in these folds like this. And sort of in those creases it kind of would have a shadow. So I would add my colour in here. I hope you can see this well enough. So I think the thing to do really is just to go with your gut to where you think the shadows might be. I'm not an expert on, you know, shading where shadows should be or anything like that by any means. I'm not a teacher of colouring or anything like that by any means. This is just how I do it. And I think the trick is just to find your closest colouring pencil that you have to what pastels you used. I used, I think they're called Jazz Art soft pastels. They're like about this long and they're square. And I think for a box of like 48 or something, it was about $25. And they're going to last me probably my lifetime. So yeah, just adding that close colour and putting those shaded bits in where you think that there would be a crease in that blouse. That's where I put a little bit of this darker pencil in, and the rest I leave. I could, like I mentioned, use the middle purple pink. I could add a little bit of that if I wanted it a little bit pinker in colour. I could very, very softly go through, and I'm using such a soft hand. I'm not pressing hardly at all. I'm just getting the pencil on there and just going over the top very, very lightly. And you wouldn't even really have to do this if you don't want. It's only if you want to sort of change the colour slightly, you want to play around with it like that. So that's kind of how I would do the collar. Now I will just show you a piece on the bow. So I was looking for a purpley colour for that. So again, I'll try to pick my my closest colour. I'm just going to go for my polychromo. This is just violet. And again, the inside of this bow, I would go in, and again, I'm using such a soft hand, and I'm using circular motion just to put in that shadow in there, that shaded part. It just helps finish it off, and this is so quick and easy to do. So I only really use pastels like this if this is just to show you how to use them, but normally I only kind of use pastels on a really huge page where there's so much work to be done and it's kind of overwhelming and you just don't know where to start. Sometimes you have those double spreads and it's like, oh my gosh, that's so much work in coloured pencil. That's going to take me like a week. And then that's where I do this technique where I've added the pastel first, just to help me get started. So yeah, I'm just colouring very lightly over here, just trying to get a little bit more colour into that. But I'm not actually going over the whole thing, I'm just adding a little bit of shading and shadows in here. So you can get the general idea of what I've been talking about. I'm sorry about the noise in the background, that is my wash machine going. Trying to do a bit of everything today. I got washing going, got housework going. I had to switch my dishwasher off because it was just too loud for the camera. And there's a colour bit there. And then I will do this bit. So that's the point, is don't go over the whole part again in pencil, because then you're just defeating the purpose of putting the soft pastel down. You're only really doing, just think of where the shadows would be, and that's all. So I'll just bring that up to the camera. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so hopefully you see what I mean. So that will give you some light and dark. It's kind of an easy way if you don't really know how to do shadowing or, you know, light and dark colouring. It's a really easy technique to do. You just think about where creases are. Okay, so now I'm going to show you, put this like this, the berries. So I've done these in a kind of a pinky colour, but I think again I might use the middle purple pink, and I'm going to go for this one here, which is a fuchsia, both in the polychromos. So I'm going to start with the fuchsia and just put a bit of colour in them too. So just again, I'm not colouring the whole thing, and I'm using a very, very soft hand. I'm just touching the page, and I'm just worrying about where the shadows of these beads or berries or whatever they are in her hair would be. And like I said, I suffer from carpal tunnel in my wrists at times, and doing things this way, because I'm pressing so lightly and I'm not having to colour full pictures, it's so much easier on my wrists. So I'm planning a colour along coming up for my next video, and I think like one of the women on YouTube will be doing, if you look up Disney colour along, and you can pick any Disney book, or you can download a free Disney image off the internet, like a colouring book page. Anything to do with Disney, and I think it's going to be hashtag colouring with the girls is what the video will be under. And I went out, I was going to do a free, one of the free colouring pages you can get off the internet. There's tons of Disney ones because of all the kids out there that like to colour as well. And I was going to do that, but I was in the shop yesterday and I saw the kids' colouring books, and I got two there because they were only $2. I can't believe kids' colouring books are only $2, and adults ones are like, a lot of them are pretty similar, and they can go up to like $20, $25 for some of them. So there I've done the light, the fuchsia. So you can see so far, all those little highlights there is just what's left from the soft pastel. And now I'm going to go back in with my middle purple pink and just put a little bit darker. Let's put a little bit darker shading in there. And as I was saying, I'm going to do this colour along, and I managed to pick up two colouring books, like I said, two kids ones, and one is a Disney Frozen, I think it's called Disney Frozen Learn to Colour, and it's for kids, but the pictures are really good, and the paper's not bad either. It's actually the same quality paper as a lot of my adult colouring books. So I was quite pleased with that. And I think that one, yeah, that was $2. Couldn't believe it, $2. And the pictures are really cute and lovely, and really not much different to a lot of the other fairy tale and colouring books you get by adults. So I'll do a quick view of those. Both of my books before I do the colour along. And the other one was Tangled. And I think I was drawn to that one because my girls, even though they've kind of a lot older teenagers now, they've always liked Tangled. So I got that one as well, and that was $2 as well. That was actually originally $4 because it came with like 4 tiny little pencils and a tiny little activity book with it as well. But that was down to $2 as well. The activity book and the little pencils I just threw out because I don't know any little kids to give them to. But the colouring book has a lot thinner pages. They're like just kind of copy, like photocopy kind of paper. It's a lot thinner, but still the images in that are really cute as well. And I only plan to use coloured pencil in them, so, or pastels, so it's going to be fine. So I thought that was a good price, $4 for a colour along. I mean, she did say don't go and buy any Disney books especially, but for $4 for 2 books, I think it was worth it rather than using my printer ink, because my printer ink is so expensive. Every time I got to fill them up, it's like, I think it costs me about $60. And we seem to go through it so fast, it's ridiculous. Okay, so there, I'm going to leave the berries at that. I may go back in and just do the middle parts, actually. I might use this one, Crimson. And then I'll have to leave the video here and do part 2 because my upload speed when I'm uploading to YouTube is incredibly slow here in Australia. It's painstaking. And I have to stick to like 20-25 minute maximum videos, otherwise it just takes the whole day to upload it, and no one else in my house can use the internet while it's happening because otherwise it will abort and I get all sorts of problems. So I'll have to do a second part of this, which I will do her hair and her face. But like I said, I'm not fantastic at doing people's faces. I don't really do a lot of these sorts of portrait type pictures. Normally when I do people, they're kind of tiny people. Okay, I think I've got just about all of it. Adding a bit more dark in some of these just to add a little bit of contrast. And there, you can see how I've added all the shading in there. And then you could go back through with your blender pencil if you wanted to as well. And then I'm going to, off camera, I'm going to finish her blouse, and then we will start on her face and hair. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you enjoy these videos, and I'd love to hear a comment, of course. Have a great day colouring. Bye.